The starting point of self-knowledge is to recognize this wonderful fact is that you are extraordinary. You are unique. The odds against there being someone exactly like you are over 50 billion to 1. That every single part of your body, and anatomists and physiologists and doctors have demonstrated that your blood composition is different from any other person that has ever lived. Your fingerprints are different. Your lip prints are different. Even your ear prints are different. Even your toe prints are different from anybody that has ever lived. You are different from anyone else, and self-knowledge begins with accepting that you are a unique and special individual and that you have the capacity to do something wonderful with your life. Now, that being said, you are also the same as everybody else with respect to certain basic principles. Throughout the history of mankind, the most intelligent men and women who have ever lived have sought answers to the question of the human dilemma. What can people do in order to change the quality of their lives, their relationships, and their results? The great philosophers, the great metaphysicians, the great scholars have pondered over this sometimes for their entire lifetimes. In our century, I know men and women who spent 10, 20, 30, 40, even 50 years studying success and achievement to find out what general rules and principles we can draw upon to be more successful. The first thing that we have to start with, the basis for this entire course, the psychology of achievement, is this, is that you are a mental creature. The only thing that makes you truly unique is your mind. Everything else you have in common, as Eugene O'Neill, the playwright, said, with a horse or a pig. Your mind is what makes you unique. Your body simply carries your mind around. And just as electricity works on laws of electricity, and physics works on laws of physics, and nature works on laws of nature, there are certain mental laws that determine everything that happens to you. And these mental laws are as inexorable as the laws of gravity. They work 100% of the time. And every single success you have in life comes from living your life in harmony with basic mental laws. And every problem or difficulty you ever have in life comes from living your life out of harmony with those basic laws. Now, mental laws work 100% of the time, like gravity works 100% of the time. What it means is that if you step off a 10-story building in the city where you're living, or in London, England, or in Lima, Peru, you're going to go splat on the sidewalk, whether you know about gravity, whether you believe in gravity, whether you agree with gravity, or whether gravity is convenient for you, it's going to work on you nonetheless. The mental laws are exactly the same, and in this course I'm going to introduce you to about 20 mental laws, some of which are more important than others, but all of which it is critical for you to understand. Now let's start with the first of the mental laws. The first mental law, and by the way, these laws have been written about and studied for century after century, and many of them have been tested in our leading universities, research institutes, and think tanks in the last few years and found to be as true as they've ever been imagined to be. The first law is what we call the law of control. Now, the law of control is very simple. It's the basic law, and we'll come back to it over and over again. It says simply this. It says that you feel good about yourself, you feel positive about yourself to the degree to which you feel you are in control of your own life. Or you feel negative about yourself to the degree to which you feel you are not in control of your own life. All you have to do is look at your life today and ask yourself, what parts of your life do you feel the best at? What parts of the life do you feel most in control? You'll find those are the places where you are the happiest. And since the supreme human good is to achieve a state of happiness, which is expressed in peace of mind and health and love in relationships, control is absolutely essential. Psychologists today call this the difference between an internal locus of control, which is feeling that you're in charge of your own life, versus an external locus of control, which means the feeling that something outside of you, your bills, your relationships, your job, your health, are somehow controlling you. As a matter of fact, locus of control research, and there are many tests that you can take to determine where you are on this chart in terms of locus of control and what areas of your life you feel more in control and less in control. People with a very high internal locus of control are high achievers, they are more successful, they're more self-determined, they're happier. And many of the things we're trying to do in this course is to give you a far greater sense of control, of being in charge of every aspect of your life. Now, control begins with, first of all, your thoughts. Interestingly enough, your thoughts, what you think about things and how you think, determines your values. It determines what is going on inside you. Once they are stored away, your thoughts determine your feelings. It's how you think about something that determines your feelings, whether you are happy or unhappy, whether you are scared or confident. Your feelings then determine your actions. So we start off with the law of control, saying that the key to success is to feel that you are the master of your own destiny, that you're behind the steering wheel of your own life. You're in charge of your life by taking full and complete control over your thoughts. Your thoughts will control your feelings will control your actions, and your actions, remember, it's always your actions, will determine your success or your lack thereof. So the law of control is important. Now, as opposed to the law of control, we have what is called the law of accident. Now, the law of accident is really a metaphysical principle. It is only a law, like a traffic law or like a legal law, to the degree to which we live by it consistently. The law of accident is what about 80% of the population live by, plus or minus. The law of accident simply says that by failing to plan, you're planning to fail. Failing to plan is planning to fail. Now, the majority of people don't believe that they're living by this, but if you look at their lives, you see that that's true. Failing to plan means planning to fail. These are the sort of people that say, well, it's not what you know, it's who you know. It's being in the right place at the right time. It's luck. It's the luck of the draw, and so on. These are people who, as a result of feeling that their life is controlled by forces outside themselves, don't have clear plans, don't have clear goals, are not working persistently and consistently day by day toward accomplishing something they want, and their lives just seem to drift and go around in circle like a ship without a rudder. Now, a person, just like a ship without a rudder, a person with no central plan is a person who has very little control. Is a person who feels that, in fact, they are out of control of their lives, like they're falling through space with no place to stop. And these people are invariably unhappy. The reason why people are negative today, the reason why people are unhappy, the reason why people are sick and frustrated, the reason why people underachieve in life is most of them are living by this law of accident. And in so doing, they have no sense of control over their lives, they have no sense of inner peace, they have no sense of happiness, and so on. So we are going to show you how to free yourself from the law of accident personally or permanently. Now, the next law is what is called the law of cause and effect. The law of cause and effect says that for every effect in your life, there is a specific cause. That everything that happens in the universe happens for a reason. That nothing happens by accident. That failure does not happen by accident and success does not happen by accident. That happiness or lack of happiness are a result of cause and effect relationships. That if you have an effect in your life that you want to have more of, more success, more money, more happiness, better health, you can trace it back to a cause. And what you do is you repeat and duplicate the cause. If you have an effect in your life that you want to have less of, if you have problems, difficulties, and so on, you can also trace that back to a cause. All progress in human life and human society stems back from identifying the causes of what we want more of or less of and changing the causes. Now, the law of cause and effect, of course, is the iron law of the universe. This is the law, if you like, that we can come back to over and over again, and many of our laws are paraphrases of the iron law. It's also called the law of sowing and reaping, that wheresoever you sow, that also shall you reap. But the iron law, the law of cause and effect, gives us a complete sense of control. If we believe that there's a cause and effect relationship, that everything happens for a reason, then we have a tremendous feeling of control in our lives. We can identify the causes, we can duplicate the causes, we can make our lives anything we want. The most important application of the law of cause and effect is this. It is that thoughts are causes. Thoughts are causes and conditions are effects. Thoughts are causes and conditions are simply effects. The starting point of everything is your thoughts about something. It's your thoughts about a job, your thoughts about a relationship, your thoughts about your health, your thoughts about your future. Your thoughts become causative agents. The conditions become the effects. That if you wish to change any of the conditions of your life, you have to change the thoughts that precede those conditions. You have to change what is going on in your mind. Now, wonderfully enough, there's only one thing in the whole universe over which you have complete control, and that is your thoughts. So if you take full and complete control over your thoughts and keep your thoughts on what it is you want, make them positive causes, the conditions or effects will take care of themselves with the inexorability of a law of nature. Now, the next law is what is called the law of belief. The law of belief simply says that whatever you believe with feeling, and this is the key, with feeling, and the more emotion you put into a belief, becomes your reality. It becomes your reality because you will always act in a manner consistent with your beliefs. As a matter of fact, your entire reality right now is simply an outward picturing of your most intensely held beliefs. If you believe something that is positive or believe something that is negative, or as Henry Ford said, if you believe you can do a thing or if you believe you cannot, you are right. Our beliefs do form our realities. To the degree to which we believe anything to be true, our beliefs act as sort of like a screen. They filter out any information that is inconsistent with our beliefs. We have a deep down desire inside of us to remain consistent. So we're always trying to view our world, rationalize our world, interpret our world so that it is consistent with what we have already decided to believe. We develop what is called scotomas. A scotoma is a word in psychology that simply says that we develop blind spots. We do not see opportunities if we are convinced that there are no opportunities. We do not see possibilities for success if we don't believe that success is possible for us. However, if we begin to change our beliefs, we begin to change our realities. Let me give you an example. There's a story of a young man who came from a small Midwestern town. It's a true story. It was reported in psychological journals a couple of years ago. He got straight A's all through junior high school and high school. At the end of the 12th grade, he wrote his Scholastic Achievement Test to go to university. A few weeks later, he got back a letter from the university saying, "You have scored 98 on the Scholastic Achievement Test, and you're hereby admitted to the university for the fall semester." Well, he didn't know very much about Scholastic Achievement Tests, and he thought that the 98 was an IQ score. Now, an IQ score of 98 is slightly below average and is about 20 points below what is necessary for college-level work. He was convinced, and he just discarded his entire high school career, all the A's that he's gotten. He was convinced that he could not do college-level work, but he went off to college in the fall. After the first semester, he was failing or nearly failing in every subject. His counselor called him in and said, "What seems to be the problem? You did extremely well in high school. These courses are only 1 degree of difficulty removed from your high school courses. Are you having problems with girls? Are you having problems with drugs? Having problems adjusting? What is it?" He said, "Well, sir," he said, "I'm doing the very best I can, but you can't blame me. I've only got a 98 IQ. And the counselor had his file in front of him. He said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Well, in my letter of admission to the university, it said that I got a 98 on the Scholastic Achievement Test." He said, "Son, that's not an IQ." They said, "That's not an IQ. That is a percentile. What that means is that you scored equal to or higher than 98% of the students in the country who wrote that test. You're one of the brightest kids in this university." Well, this young guy went out. He checked on the Scholastic Achievement Test. He found it was true that the 98 was a percentile, not an IQ. He went back to his courses, and 2 years later, he was in the top 10 in a 30,000 student university. He was leading in all of his classes. Once he changed his reality, once he changed his beliefs about his intelligence, his reality changed automatically. Now, an important point with regard to this is that every one of us has self-limiting beliefs. Every one of us believes ourselves to be limited in some way. Every one of us believes ourselves to be limited in intelligence, creativity, money-making ability. I can't sell. I can't speak in front of audiences. We tend to think that we are not capable of being on time. We're not mechanically inclined, and so on and so forth. But exhaustive research demonstrates that talents are pretty evenly spread throughout the population. That most of the limitations we have do not exist in reality. They exist only in your own mind. And one of the starting points of great achievement is to start questioning those self-limiting beliefs and throw them off and act as if they did not exist. And when you act as if they didn't exist, lo and behold, they simply disappear. Okay, the next law is what is called the law of expectations. Now, the law of expectations is a law that has been talked about throughout all of human history. Just like in the law of belief, William James of Harvard said, "Belief creates the actual fact. As a man thinketh in his heart, or as he believeth, so is he." The law of expectations over and over said, what you expect, you get. You get not what you want, but what you expect. That your expectations, especially your expectations about outcomes, how you think things are going to turn out, become your own self-fulfilling prophecies. And Dr. Robert Rosenthal of Harvard University has done something like 300 experiments on expectations theory, on what is called experimenter theory, and he finds that your expectations have an effect on other people and events and circumstances, even if your expectations are based on totally false information. Whatever you expect with confidence. In other words, if you confidently expect good things to happen, surprise, surprise, good things happen to you. If you confidently expect negative things to happen, then negative things are going to happen to you. That most successful people have developed an attitude of confidently expecting good things to happen. It's called the attitude of positive self-expectancy. It is the attitude of the winner. The winner looks for good things to happen. The winner expects to win in advance, and lo and behold, whatever you expect with confidence tends to come true, even if the information upon which your expectations is based is totally false. Now, let me give you an example of expectations. Some years ago, Dr. Rosenthal, after conducting a variety of different experiments, came to the conclusion that the expectations that teachers had of students was having a tremendous effect on their ability to learn and their grade level averages. So he put together a series of experiments, and then one major experiment which was tremendous. He went to the San Francisco Bay Area, and at the beginning of the school year, he had the principal call in 3 teachers. The 3 teachers were told that by the principal, as a result of teaching excellence, they had been singled out as the 3 best teachers in the school, and that they were going to be given 30 students each of the brightest students in the school identified by IQ tests at the end of the last semester. They would be able to teach these students for the entire year, and it was estimated by experts that these students would jump in scholastic achievement an average of 20 to 30% over the course of that school year. Now, the teachers were told that one of the conditions was that they mustn't tell the teachers, they mustn't tell the students, and they mustn't tell their parents. They must continue to teach the same way, and classes were carefully monitored to make sure that they taught the same way they taught before, but only they would know that they had been given 30 bright students each to teach for the whole year. The teachers were delighted. The teachers went out. They were excited about this. They worked hard with those students. They spent time after school with them. They got really, really involved in teaching more than they ever had before. And at the end of the school year, lo and behold, those 3 classes led not only the school, but the entire school district in academic accomplishment. At the end of the year, they called the 3 teachers in. They sat them down and they said, well, you've had a good year. And they said, yes, well, it was great. Those kids were so bright. They were so eager to learn. They said, well, maybe we should tell you the truth, that this was an experiment. And the fact is that the beginning of the school year, we selected the names of 90 children by lottery from the school population at large and assigned them to your class. We didn't even know what their IQs were. They said, well, that's remarkable. Well, how could it have happened that they did so well? And then they looked at each other and said, well, of course, it's because we are the 3 most excellent teachers in this school. They said, well, the other side of it was simply this, is at the beginning of the school year, we put all the teachers' names in a hat, and yours were the first 3 names that were drawn. So this is what is called a double-blind experiment. They held constant for everything but expectations. Now, the expectations on the teachers were explicit. We believe that you are excellent teachers. The expectations of the teachers on the students were implicit. They were never spoken. The teachers just treated those students as though they were really intelligent, and the students bloomed and blossomed. And in one of the classes, a student from beginning of the year to the end of the year jumped 25 IQ points. In a subsequent experiment, a student jumped as much as 27 IQ points, which is to prove that high expectations teachers bring out intelligence in students that is completely unheard of. Marva Collins, the famous teacher in the Chicago inner city, has found that if you treat students as though they're intelligent and talk to them and work with them as though they are really bright, they will absolutely astonish you in terms of academic accomplishment. All right, this brings us to the critical role of expectations in your life. First part of expectations in your life, number 1, and where expectations affect you. Expectations of your parents. We have found that we have a tendency as adults to try to live up to or down to the expectation of our parents all our lives. If our parents were strong and supportive and loving and kind and encouraging and really believed in us, all our lives we will strive unconsciously to live a life consistent with those expectations. If our parents were critical and condemnatory and bitched and complained and griped about our grades and so on and so forth, we will find that all of our life we'll have a tendency to hold ourselves back. So be alert to that. What were the expectations of your parents? Were they positive? Were they negative? Were they boosting or were they discouraging? And how much are they affecting you today? Second area of expectations is the expectations of your boss. In all of our studies, we have found, especially in the studies on excellence in organizations, we have found that high expectations, bosses have high performance work environments. Now, if you work for a boss who's negative, critical, and condemnatory, if you work for a boss that has negative expectations or a negative attitude, chances are your performance will be at the very lowest. As a matter of fact, if you look at the course of your working career, you'll find that the times of your life that you've enjoyed the most is working under a boss that has high positive expectations of you and your ability. Isn't that correct? The third area of expectations is the expectations you have of others, especially of your children, especially of your spouse or your mate, especially of your subordinates or the people who look up to you. You see, we are profoundly affected by the opinions of anybody we respect, by the attitudes toward us of anybody we respect. And if you have high positive expectations of the people around you, especially your children, they will rise to fulfill those expectations. So the basic rule with regard to this is always expect good things of other people. In word and deed, tell them continually, I believe in you. And number 4 area of expectations is the expectations you have of yourself. In the final analysis, these are the most powerful. If you have high positive expectations of yourself, you'll be astonished at what it will mean to your life. Always expect the best. Always expect the best. And here's a little exercise which I learned from one of my graduates in one of our live seminars. He found that by starting off every day with this simple little exercise and saying to himself, I believe something wonderful is going to happen to me today. I believe something wonderful is going to happen to me today. I believe something wonderful is going to happen to me today. That this little exercise changed his whole attitude, that he went through the whole day with the attitude of somebody with a confident self-expectancy, that everything that happened during the course of the day, he thought, maybe this is something wonderful that's going to happen to me. And you know that if you will do this, if you will say before you go to sleep, I believe something wonderful is going to happen to me tomorrow. And if you'll say when you get up in the morning, I believe something wonderful is going to happen to me today. And if all day long you say, I believe something wonderful is going to happen to me, you'll find that as you go to sleep the next night, and try this today, it's a very powerful exercise. It sounds a little bit corny, but it's a very powerful exercise. If you'll try it, you'll find that when you go to sleep, you will not be able to think of all the wonderful things that happen to you. You'll just be surprised that your parking spaces will open up and friends will call and you'll get checks in the mail. Just your life will be a series of really positive, happy experiences. So always expect the best. I believe something wonderful is going to happen to me today, and by the inexorability of a law of nature, it's going to happen to you. I can assure you it's happened to thousands and thousands and thousands of our graduates who will literally astonish you, the effect of this corny little exercise. All right, the next law is what is called the law of attraction. Now, the law of attraction simply says that you are a living magnet. You are a living magnet. And that you inevitably attract into your life the people and circumstances that are in harmony with your dominant thoughts. In the universe, we know that all of energy is in a state of vibrations. That everything is vibrating. Even this board is vibrating. Your skin is vibrating. Every substance is vibrating because of its molecular structure. And we also know there's the law of radiation. That everything is vibrating outward. The process of entropy. And we find that whatever you are thinking, your thoughts are also a form of energy that is vibrating and radiating out from you and that travels at the speed of light so that you can affect people and circumstances at great distances. Have you ever had an experience where you're thinking about somebody and the telephone rings and it's them? Have you ever had an experience where you phone somebody else and they say, we were just talking about you? It just leaps into your mind? Have you ever had an experience when you're in tune with your husband or wife and you think, you know, I'd like to go out to dinner at such and such a place tonight, and you call home and they will say, why don't we go out to dinner at such and such a place? These are all examples of this law of attraction. The law of attraction is considered by many to be one of the most important laws of human existence. In this, you will always attract to yourself, positive or negative, people and circumstances that harmonize with your dominant thoughts. That whatever you're thinking on a continuing basis, you're attracting into your life. You're drawing it into your life like a magnet. That's why it's so important that you keep your thoughts on what you want, keep your thoughts on what you desire, and keep your thoughts off of what you don't want. And by the way, as you advance and develop and become more proficient and more sharp with these methods, the law of attraction will work faster for you and with greater accuracy. So be careful. Use it right. The last law we'll talk about in this session is called the law of correspondence. The law of correspondence is a law that says, and it's quoted by Jesus, as within, so without. As within, so without. And what it simply means is this. It means that your outer world is a mirror. And that's probably the best word. Your outer world is a mirror, and it simply reflects back to you what is going on in your inner world. That your outer world is the result of your inner world. That what is going on within determines what is going on without. That if you want to change your outer world, you have to change your inner world. Now that means that you can look at your words, you can look at your level of health. What is going on in terms of your physical health is largely determined by what is going on in your mind. What is going on in your relationships is the most perfect example, because you find that when you are feeling good inside, your relationships go smoothly. When you're feeling negative or stressed inside, your relationships go poorly. Your relationships are the mirror image reflection of the quality of your own personality. You can tell how healthy your personality is by looking at the relationships changed his life and changed the lives of millions of others, which is sort of tacks on to all of these laws that we're talking about. And it was simply this, is you become what you think about. You become what you think about. And since the only thing that you can control is your thinking, if you change what you are thinking about, you will begin to change your reality. If you change what you expect, you change what you believe, you change your dominant thoughts, you change your inner workings, you begin to attract into your life people, circumstances, events, opportunities, and everything consistent with your new thoughts. The reason people are unsuccessful is they think thoughts of unsuccess or failure. Another line, which is very, very important, says that all causation is mental. We live in a mental universe. All causation is mental. If you wish to change your universe, you have to change your mentality. And this brings us to the most important line of all, which is simply this. And let me write it over here. If you change your thinking, dynamic, vital, living, successful life that you desire on the outside.
And this is a discovery that I made a couple of years ago, and it just staggered me because I've been studying success for years. And then there's the book In Search of Excellence, and then there's The Pursuit of Excellence, and then there's Refinding Excellence and Losing Excellence, and all the excellence books. And I sat down and looked at this whole concept of excellence, and I saw something that I hadn't noticed. It's almost like something brought to the surface of your mind. I noticed that every single man or woman that I had studied who had achieved any kind of success in any field whatsoever had done it after they had made a commitment to becoming excellent in that field. And I began to look, and I began to compare, and I began to talk to people, and I speak to thousands of people virtually every month. I found that I never found a single person who was successful who was not excellent at what they did. That competence, the commitment to becoming excellent in your chosen field, is an indispensable prerequisite for success, that if you are not good at what you do, you haven't got a chance in our competitive society unless you win the lottery. And only the top 5 or 10% are excellent. You must commit yourself to excellence. You must commit yourself to becoming the best. And the wonderful thing is that excellence is a journey. It's not a destination. You never get there. Complacency and satisfaction are the key enemies of excellence. But once you commit yourself to becoming excellent, the whole world opens up for you. A very important point of excellence is this means simply this: do your best every time out and always strive to do it better. Excellence yields opportunities, because when you become good, you open up. It's almost like the Red Sea of opportunity opens up in front of you. When you become excellent, you come to the attention of people, and people try to get you, and they give you more responsibilities and more opportunities. You see, when we do something well, it gives us a feeling of self-esteem and pride. We feel like a winner. But if we do things in an average way, it doesn't give us anything. That's why the companies that have committed to excellence are not hundreds of % better in any given area. What they are is they are 1 or 2% better in 100 different areas. That's the key.